Spiritual distress is so very sensitive that imagine what we all do behind two closed doors every day morning. It's happening on their bed and somebody else is doing for them. So the dependency itself can cause spiritual distress. I have led a nice life, independent life. I look, nobody saw me naked, but now there are people cleaning me. Why should I even live this sort of life? If somebody made some sort of a small frown was there on the person who was, cleaning them, it might lead to spiritual distress. Spiritual distress need not be about great things. It can be about small, simpler things also.
Coming back to question answers, are there any programs for adults or children who can be taught on palliative care that can be given at home? Is there any program that you all are running?
Who can be taught, you mean?
Yeah. A 1-day program, a 3-day program. Do you have any such programs?
Yes, we are coming up with a volunteer training program shortly, wherein it's a 3-4 day program wherein people can understand the basic basic knowledge of palliative care can be acquired through those programs. So it's going to be a very interesting program. And many a times, many college students come to us. So we address them as, how it helps this palliative care attitude, wherein how you talk to a patient and interact with their families, how it impacts their well-being. So we had a session there. So please do let us know where we need to be. We'll be there and, offer our advice or offer our expertise or knowledge, share our knowledge so that this palliative care can be taken forward in the community and everybody gets to know about it and avail it in case there is a necessity. Please let us know, we are there. So we go to schools, talk to children about palliative care. So like, for example, next door is Oak Ridge International School. We have gone to their place. We have gone to DPS. So we have gone to many schools like that, many colleges we have gone and talked to the children and students about what is palliative care and how it can be, availed and how it can translate to a good quality of life for their loved ones in case they need it.
There is one Mr. Shmuel Yerushami wanting to talk. Please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
What, according to you, need to be a role of government and state authorities in development palliative care for poor and low socioeconomic groups of population?
That's a very pertinent and great question, sir. Thank you for asking that. So here in India, many people, like if you have heard of somebody by name Dr. Rajgopal from Kerala, who has been, who was awarded, this Padma Shri few years back. He has worked to such an extent that he got, if morphine or any sort of pain management drug is available in our country today with ease, it's because of his efforts. That's when the palliative care movement picked up, momentum. The thing is, there is no universe, there is no central policy that says that every government or every state government should come up with a policy of their own. There is no such thing. So state governments are left to take a decision for themselves. So few states do have policies. So what happens when a policy is in place for palliative care is it comes under medical insurance. People can avail it. Every hospital, it's mandatory. It is available for the patients to, approach and take service from that particular department if there is a policy like that. As far as Telangana is concerned, in coordination or in affiliation with the National Health Scheme, they are offering palliative care at every district level. They have a palliative care ward in every district area hospital, but there is no policy as such in Telangana. Many people are still trying for it because policy again translates to burden for the financial budgeting should be done for that particular policy, and all these things, skill development should be done, and all these things will come into play. So still we are all trying for it. I think many heads are rolling for this particular cause. We are trying to see to it that it comes under Arogyasri. We are trying to see that there is a policy in place in Telangana so that many people can avail it, and many hospitals which offer this cancer care, palliative care becomes mandatory for them to offer. I hope I answered your question, sir.
Yeah, of course. Thank you very much.
I wanted to add something here.
Thank you.
You know, how would it be if the government comes out with a policy on education with schools and colleges? Because I feel these days schools are not catering to the training the children on the real requirements. Like, I don't think schools teach on first aid, schools teach on palliative care. But all of us have old people at home. All of us don't know this needs to be dealt in a certain fashion. These are life skills. Palliative care itself is a life skill. So if there can be a policy, where it's just like when we were small, we had the SUPW classes or the culture and culture classes. If you could have one class a month or a week where, you actually physically go and serve in palliative care hospitals, I think it will change the experience and the wisdom and the exposure for the child. I think that is a policy I feel that can be added, Shumel, in the policy making.
Sure.
Yeah. Another question I have is, does insurance cover palliative care?
No, it doesn't.
Is there a possibility for those at least, for people like us, if we can question that this is not happening, people who have paid taxes all their working lives, right from when they're 25 to they're 75, they've been paying taxes. At least those people, if they can be provided with insurance, at least, people like Sparsh should actually question and ask these things.
I think they are making efforts in that line. I'm sure they are making. I'm aware of it. But I think that's a decision to be taken by top people of our government. But it, as you said, if there is a policy, if say Arogyasri itself covers to offer palliative care, because they don't have to come to places like even Sparsh Hospice. If it is integrated into their mainline treatment itself, then there's no reason for anybody to go to a different facility or a different doctor altogether. So if that becomes a part of Arogyasri scheme, or if there's a policy in place like that, then it will be, many hospitals will come up and they'll offer palliative care, not as an option but as a right for the patient. Everybody has a right to dignity, right to self-worth and things like that. Yes.
One, Mr. Surupneni Prasad. Good morning. Sparsh Hospice is a blessing for those who are suffering from terminal illness like cancer. But correct me if I'm wrong, once you are admitted into such a palliative center, you are expected to continue with parallel existing treatment, be it chemotherapy or whatever. Drugs have to be stopped?
No, not at all. We have patients who go to hospitals, who come here, stay with us between 2 sessions of chemotherapy or 2 sessions of radiotherapy. They come to us. They don't have to stop their treatments. So, but we add our own line of treatment just to make their symptom burden less and, to manage their pain and things like that. So the answer to that question is no. Nobody needs to stop anything to be comfortable that way. They can still continue to cure the disease, their efforts to cure the disease, as well as have good quality of life.
Does Sparsh charge for patients, or does it charge at a subsidized rate? How does it?
Sparsh does not charge patients. So here what happens is that when a patient is admitted, we request, or we tell the family member to stay along with the patient here in the facility. When that happens, we take care of their food, both their food, dietary requirements for the patient, food for the family member, and we take care of the medicines, and we take care of their personal hygiene materials, everything we take care of. So there are no hidden costs or hidden things where we say that, okay, you can stay free, but the doctor's visit is charged, or nursing care is charged, or for diapers we charge, or for food we charge. We don't do that. It's absolutely free of cost.
Madam, to whom are you saying as spiritual counselor? This is from Professor Dr. Dilip.
From whom?
Yeah, when you spoke about that the patient requires a spiritual counselor?
So depending upon, spirituality and religion are very different, as all of us know. So, but many people connect spirituality and to their religion and ask us to guide them as how to go about that particular spiritual issue. So, when a religious solution is requested by the patient himself for his spiritual distress, we encourage the patient to get on with it by himself, or depending upon his request. So if he says, if I get to visit a particular place of my choice, a religious place of my choice, I would feel bit better about myself, about my spiritual distress. We encourage them. In case they don't have money to travel, we try to collaborate, try to find a volunteer who will support that particular thing. If he says that it needs to be arranged at our hospice, wherein it will help him, then we arrange. There were so many instances wherein we could arrange a religious event to happen for the patient, so that they feel that will help their spiritual distress. But spiritual distress in terms of losing hope and or losing purpose for their life because of this illness, then counselors will come into place. And depending upon again the request of the patient, if they say that so and so, if so and so visits, I'll be okay. If so and so helps me out, I'll be okay. If so and so, like a psychiatrist come or some spiritual leader come and visit us, I'll feel better. We'll make it happen for them. But counselors are involved, wherein they sit and talk it out with the patient and try to understand the reason for the spiritual distress. And spiritual distress is so very sensitive that imagine what we all do behind two closed doors every day morning. It's happening on their bed, and somebody else is doing for them. So the dependency itself can cause spiritual distress. I have led a nice life, independent life. I look, nobody saw me naked, but now there are people cleaning me. Why should I even live this sort of life? If somebody made some sort of a small frown was there on the person who was cleaning them, it might lead to spiritual distress. Spiritual distress need not be about great things. It can be about small, simpler things also. Like then we try to find out the reason, what's causing this sort of spiritual distress. They'll say, it's not worth, madam, let me die. I was a principal, I was so and so great, or I did such a great job. Now I'm here at the mercy of these sort of people, and they're hurting me like this. We resolve that issue. We try to look into that issue and try to find out what's happening. So spiritual distress means different things to different people. So depending upon their specifications, we address that particular issue. Hope I answered the.
Yes, you did. One, Mr. Shyam Prasad says, India produces less than 25 PG medical professionals per year, palliative MD or palliative DNB. Awareness is increasing now through centers like Sparsh. If there is such a shortage of these programs, how do we take care of the country's requirement, ma'am?
That's a very good question. So what we generally feel is there's so much of requirement and the depth for the provisions or the resources. It's not completely true. If people are aware of it, aware of palliative care, they need not even uproot themselves from their homes. They can still be at home and make use of those services. They can go to a nearby palliative care center like us and take it. We don't need 100 more centers for it. First, if the center is put to its optimum use or the maximum use, that's a beginning of raising awareness. So it so happens that when there is we sometimes wonder if there are, like for a few years back, there was an article in Times of India says that every month or so, around 25,000 people are declared terminal in Hyderabad alone. If you ask me, are you taking care of all those 25,000 people? No, we are not able to, because of two reasons. One, as he asked us, there's no facility which can take care of such huge volume. Second thing is, we are not there yet in terms of awareness. We are not there yet. We have to create an awareness for the utility of the program, utility of the care. We have to create a sense of hope and trust in the patients and the families that palliative care will actually help them. It might not help you cure the disease. I've heard a statement from one of the sons, one time a patient was actively dying. She was gasping. She was going to leave very soon, like 1 hour or so, she would die. I asked him, and he was planning to shift her to the to his native village. Then we asked him, why do you want to take her? She's actually going. Please do not. The answer he gives is, anyhow, she's going to die. And, my people, they cannot spend that much money to come and see her. I rather take this person there so that hundreds of his relatives or 50 or 60 of his relatives can have a look at her. So it's an operation convenience. So it is like, we do not have, we means, I'm not saying everybody, a few certain pockets of people do not have understanding of what is dignity is about. For them, what is dignity? There's like, for a person who goes to railway tracks to relieve himself, what dignity are we talking in terms of diapers and things like that? We cannot. So we have to perceive that particular thing from his angle and from his level and help him out. So we are not there yet in this as a society to accept palliative care as a right of each patient. We still think that it's an option. Anyhow, the patient is going to die. So what are we going to do? Going to a palliative care center. All our lives will be disrupted. That's what the family thinks. Here at home, leaving the patient here, appoint a nurse or somebody or appoint an assistant. We all can go to our respective lives and respective professions. Whereas if we uproot him and bring him to the facility, then we have to make time to go come and see him and things like that. So it is not a patient-centric. If it is patient-centric, where we are respecting the patient's autonomy and we are looking for good quality of life for the patient, then, as he said, yes, we are not still equipped to deal with this sort of volume of terminal patients. And I hope that day comes where people realize that actually palliative care helps them deal with the disease in a very balanced way. It's a very balanced way of, there is a way where we can, as a team, we can achieve more than as a single family versus a single family with the support of a palliative care center. If that scenario, that understanding is created in the community, then there is going to be a dearth.
Ma'am, since what age can a child be taught to give palliative care?
There are certain, especially cancer, there are certain cancers which are diagnosed right at the time of the birth. So from that day onwards, and one of our patients was a Swamiji who passed away with us, was 116 years. So right from whenever they start requiring that support, we can offer palliative care. Whenever, what age is it's just a number. We can offer to them at any point when it is going to add to their quality of life. Even the baby can be 1 month old, 2 months old, we can do it.
How expensive it is to give suppose we are a 20-year-old or 30-year-old or 40-year-old. We want to plan for our future palliative care. What kind of amounts would you advise will cost per month or per to set aside this money as an investment for our futures? What would you advise?
As of now, for palliative care, you don't have to save anything because it's run by mostly it's palliative care still offered by non-profit sector in India. Most of the non-profit. If in case in future palliative care becomes an integral part of our mainline treatment, wherein our corporate of hospitals and other hospitals come up with their own palliative care, treatment centers, treatment wings and things like that, then it's a very difficult question to answer, ma'am, because it will be about room rents. It will be about whether it is an air-conditioned room or non-air-conditioned room. If you're talking about just medicines, palliative care medicines or hospice care medicines are not much. They're not expensive. They're not expensive at all. But if you're talking about the add-ons, you want very nutritious, very expensive, high-end diet, or, you want some specialized room, you want some attendant to stay with you 24/7 who is, he's an MSc in nursing and all these things, if they come into play, then it's going to be a very expensive, a personal choice.